What's going on, everybody? Mark here with CCO's The Science of Fishing. We're here joined today by Jamie Bunn. We're going to talk about everything tournament fishing, South Florida fishing, and what you guys got to do to get involved in the scene.
You've landed on CCO's The Science of Fishing, where passion meets precision. Hold on tight as we dive in. But before we do, we would like to thank Sea Mule and Black Reef Co. for sponsoring this episode.
Thanks for coming, Jamie. I appreciate you, man.
My pleasure being here. We appreciate the invite. So love to talk tournaments, love to talk fishing.
Yes, sir. Yes,
I'll
sir.
do my best to answer anything you got.
Sure. So let's start off with what you're known for, tournament scene, right? You started when you were a lot younger, right? You were in college and you hosted your first tournament.
I did. So graduated from the University of Florida, grew up, got really passionate about tournament fishing in high school, and found my way back to a local tackle shop called Tackle Depot in Pompano Beach in the summertime, just working part-time to have some spending money at college, right? And that's where we started the first tournament. Started a tournament there for them. It was called the Tackle Depot Tournament, and was really just designed to get some customers in the door. It was a new shop. And that is the tournament that kind of inspired what is called the Pompano Beach Saltwater Circuit today. The series is 25 years running. Tackle Depot Tournament is now our Saltwater Slam Tournament. That's 28 years old. Wow. And we've added a handful of other tournaments since then. I'm sure you've heard of the Quest for the Crest Sailfish Series. Of course,
yeah. Who
super
hasn't?
Popular and prestigious. And then this past year, we were hired by the Miami Dolphins to bring back their Fins Weekend tournament, which was a huge success in its first year coming back. And I'm sure going to be bigger and better this coming year in June.
That's awesome. That's sweet. So let's go to the Tackle Depot tournament, right? What were you guys fishing for back then? What was the...
So
it wasn't these pro teams, right? And all this that was
you know,
going on?
there's whether you go back 30 years or you go forward to today, there's still always good teams in the tournaments, right? And I think there was always teams and fishermen that were the impact guys, were the influencers that people looked up to. I would definitely say the way the sport has progressed, no question, it's much more technical. It's very competitive. But the species haven't changed, and the format of the tournaments are still the same. Back then, our motto was that they were tournaments created by a fisherman, myself, with the fisherman's thoughts and interests in mind. Right. And that format hasn't changed today. But our species are dolphin, wahoo, kingfish, blackfin tuna, and cobia. And we've got prize money up for the heaviest fish, plus the aggregate weight. We have our Super Bowl style rings for the champions of the series. Yep. Team Supremacy is our 2023 winner. And they are fortunate in the 25th anniversary. They've got a brand new design style coming their way next year in May. So Alex and company, you guys have that to look forward to.
That's pretty sweet. Those things I've seen them. They're pretty cool.
Yeah.
And
you get to see this one.
It's going to be wild.
Next level.
Really?
Next level.
So you guys have that for the Quest for the Crest, right?
So we have our version of the rings in the Quest for the Crest is the burgundy jacket. So
that's what it is.
You know, Master's green jacket.
Right,
we've got the burgundy jacket. And if you have been fortunate enough to put on a burgundy jacket, you have accomplished what I would consider probably the highest feat and certainly competitive sail fishing. Some could say competitive bill fishing with the skill level and the talent that is involved in the Quest for the Crest. CCO just happens to actually have a relationship with Mr. Captain J.C. Clear and his wife Sarah, who
we had him on the show.
I know, and they hold the title. They, if dynasty is not a word that gets thrown around, haphazardly. But I will say that they're making a case in the case, certainly in the case of the Quest for the Crest. Yeah, they've won 4 jackets.
That's crazy. That's a lot.
That's unbelievable, actually. When you think about what it takes to win that jacket, and the fact that they've done it on different boats, but together as a core team, 4 times.
And Sarah won top angler, right? Or
she was.
What was it called?
She was
Master angler.
Yes, she was the female master angler. Actually, master angler of the entire series.
First female
to ever do it.
Wow.
Which was a huge achievement. But don't sleep on Sarah.
No, man, I don't sleep on her.
She's super good looking and a super chill girl, and obviously a new mom. But dude, she'll take it to more than half the guys out there.
Oh, I'm sure.
With her fishing skills.
She was telling us she was getting elbowed and thrown off the boat basically. Once she's out there, it's like, all right.
No doubt. No,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you, I think that's one thing that I'm really excited about for our sport. I feel like I am seeing an emergence of female anglers, and I think females are starting to get the kind of representation that many of them, the light they want shined on them. And these are ladies who are really purely passionate about the sport, set aside the eye candy conversations and all that truly love the sport. They want to be considered and thought of as an equal in terms of the competitors.
Right.
These are women that'll get out there, they'll take wraps on the leaders. They're not afraid to bridle their baits. They'll do the things. And I think it's an important step that we're seeing happen over the last couple of years. And I really hope that it continues to progress.
Absolutely. And they can do better than a lot of the guys that are out there. Some of these ladies, they have the knowledge, they have the skill, they have the technical aspect of it better than some of these
I'll give you
dudes.
another example. Chip Sheehan, Chips Ahoy.
Yeah.
He's got a young lady. Her name's Maddie. I think she's now become his first mate on his charter boat operation.
Yep.
She's in her late teens. He calls her Tig, I think, Tigger. But I mean, you watch Maddie on video and you see what she does in the cockpit, and again, super, super impressive.
Yeah.
But I'm sure she's been influenced by, other women that have come before her, like, girls like Sarah, or you take Amanda Sabin from C1, and the list goes on and on. There's a lot of good, I think, ladies out there that are setting a good precedent.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think there's definitely more ladies that are getting involved in the sport. I see it every day. Even probably you see it on social media. There's new accounts popping up, new ladies getting into it, and they're catching bigger fish than us sometimes.
Sure.
So,
hey, listen, most people don't realize that it's, successful angling is really, it's more of a finesse game.
yeah.
And than it is like just brute strength.
Yep.
And I think particularly talking about the quest for the crest and competitive sail fishing and just sail fishing in general, there's an art and there's a poetry to sail fishing that, understanding, when to hold and when to go, and listening to the captain, and those types of things, are why you see a lot of female anglers that perform and do very well, because us guys aren't always known for being the best in the finesse game, right?
Yeah. Definitely not. No. Well, we're talking about the quest and how amazing it is as a tournament, probably the tournament for any person that wants to sailfish professionally, sailfish fish professionally. What kind of inspired you with the sail fishing? How did you get into the sport? What was your background to make you so fired up about that?
So it's a great question. And I would say to some of these guys that are going to be watching this video too, I know it's easy for people to look at these names like Sandman and, Ray, Captain Ray Rocher and Art Sapp on Native Son and JC, Nick Carullo, and get intimidated, right? Understand these guys didn't start there. They were passionate, they were driven, and they've really honed their craft through the passion, practice, and even they're not perfect. You know what I mean? But for me, it was the passion for. Sailfish, I think, are just a majestic, beautiful fish. They're fast, they're acrobatic. And as you learn more about the species and fun fishing and going into competitive fishing, you start to understand that it's super exciting about how you target them, how you might take and turn a single bite into a double or a triple or a quad. It's just to me, I don't do drugs, never done drugs, but I feel like if I did do drugs, that might be what it would feel like. It's just so, it's intense, right?
It's addicting.
And And I think what I also love about tournament sail fishing that separates it from any other competitive experience is you're battling not only the fish and the teams, you're battling that clock.
Yeah.
And seconds and minutes can mean the difference between first place and a big payout, or maybe fifth place, which is still solid.
Yeah.
But that one fish that another team caught 5 minutes before you caught the same number of fish, you caught 10, I caught 10, but I caught my 10th fish 30 minutes before you do. I could win the tournament and you finish in fifth place.
Right. That's nuts.
That's exciting to me.
Yeah.
But all the way up to lines out, you catch one fish right before lines out and you jump me. You know what I mean? That's exciting. That's what I think makes that live leaderboard that people love to follow with the live scoring, because it's never over until lines out. Well, and sometimes it's not even over at lines out, because you have guys that are hooked up fighting fish into lines out, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I was talking to JC and Sarah about it, and he's like, look, when I say a minute or 10 seconds matter, he's like, I mean that. And most people don't understand, right? It's if you're 2 seconds faster on this fish and 2 seconds faster on popping that fish off and getting this guy and this guy and this guy, you could have that extra fish if it's that type of bite, and you can win the whole tournament, right? So it's like, have you ever been in that type of situation where it's like the competitiveness is just like insane, where you just have to be quick?
Yeah, I mean, I fished my career running tournaments was inspired by my passion fishing tournaments.
Yeah.
We've, obviously I'm not able to do it like I once was. If I'm lucky, I might fish a tournament or two, if that, a year on my boat, or maybe I'll jump on with a few boats.
Your tournaments?
No. Let me go out on the record and say I am not a proponent or an advocate for any tournament directors fishing their own tournaments.
All right.
Just my 2 cents. I think it's hard to be the judge and the jury of a tournament or an event that you're competing in. You know what I mean? But so yeah, I mean, as far as like the experience of fishing tournaments, that really factored in to a lot of, what I've done and developed over the years in terms of running tournaments.
Right. It's like you said, it's for fishermen by fishermen kind of type of deal. Right?
Absolutely.
So that's pretty awesome. So as things progress and as you see the future of the sport, what do you think is going to emerge as like what is the next big thing in terms of like targeting these fish? People are getting better every day. Technology is changing in terms of what's on your boat. And then also in terms of, tactics and techniques, it's developed like crazy. So I guess my question is, how have you seen that happen over time? And do you think what's the next big thing, if anything?
It's a great question. I mean, obviously technology is moving at such a rapid pace with everything. It's hard to predict. Obviously, sonar is a huge deal in the world of marlin fishing and stuff like that. Again, I may be less popular with some in this particular point of view. I'm not a big fan of sonar in tournaments.
Really?
I do like what I'm seeing in some of the tournaments, though, because sonar, at least to this point, is a very expensive proposition on a boat.
Yeah.
Not everybody can afford it, and I've never believed in, tournaments being decided by necessarily, who can afford this versus who can't afford that.
Right.
I will say that I, to some degree, miss a little bit of, I think, the core of competitive fishing tournaments and what made fishermen great, which was relying on their instincts.
Right.
Recognizing patterns, recognizing conditions, taking good notes and logs about, what worked on these conditions at this time of year, and I think it's just exciting to see that part of competitive fishing, as alive as it can be. But, on the sonar side, I think it's cool that you've seen some of these tournaments split into sonar, non-sonar divisions, as far as like Calcuttas, to where people don't have sonars, they can get into this set of Calcuttas, and if they do have them, they can get into it for that. But as far as like, as far as the trend, it's hard to say. I mean, boats are definitely bigger and faster and capable of a lot more. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't know what the future. I think probably just continuing to see probably anglers and fishermen continue to get better with the technology they have available to them to kind of really master their craft, if you will.
Right. And that's what fishing is. It's mastering your craft, right?
Absolutely. Although I will say, like, it at the end of the day, like, we can get caught up in all of the bells and the whistles and everything else. There's a lot of great marketing that goes along with promoting fishing and what it takes to, to catch this or win that. There's no replacement, man, for the fundamentals and the basics. What worked 30 years ago, and was the most important in terms of being a good fisherman is still what's most important today. Preparation, presentation, recognizing conditions, taking good care of your bait, all of those things, good communication, good teamwork, that stuff doesn't cost money. You just have to work hard for it.
That's all it is, yeah.
It's about getting the reps in, and I think, that to me is also, I think, an important message for listeners to hear is that, like, I know, as I was saying before about talking about Nick and these other talented fishermen, like, I would encourage, whether you're, interested in sail fishing or if they're just, maybe more interested in dolphin, kingfish, meat fishing and stuff like that. Most of these tournaments offer a lot of ways for people that are just getting started, even to still get involved, be a part of the events. Our Quest tournaments have small boat divisions. There's non-pro divisions. We offer that in our meat fish tournaments as well. There's mid-range divisions for boats 27 to 32. There's small boat divisions. There's non-pro divisions. You can get lucky and catch one big fish and maybe win 15, 20,000.
That'd be nice.
On the sail fishing side, I'll tell you, because we're rolling it out now, we have the Florida Sailfish Cup, which we gave you that shirt for.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, man, my pleasure. What's new for this year that I think teams that might want to just kind of get their feet wet with maybe competitive sail fishing, the Florida Cup has its traditional 3-day format. No boundaries. You have the entire state of Florida from Fernandina Beach all the way to Key West.
Wow.
Fish anywhere you want, any day you want. And basically any day is a tournament day, right?
Right.
But we also have a 1-day format now in the Florida Cup.
How does that work?
Basically, when you register for the tournament, you choose which path you want to go down. You can either go down what we call the 1-day sleigh, which we feel will be great for the charter boat guys. They're fishing all the time anyways. They want to throw it out to their customer or client, say, hey, you guys want to fish a tournament today? Florida Cup has a charter division and a 1-day format. Or maybe...
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, maybe you're a smaller boat, a newer team, and you don't feel like the 3-day format is right for you because you may not be as competitive in a 3-day format.
Yeah.
But anybody can maybe get hot on that one day.
Yep.
And again, there's a small boat division in the Florida Cup for boats 28 feet and under.
Okay.
So we're really trying to think about that small boat gang as far as that goes.
So anybody can get involved.
Yeah, the one day tournament is $400 to get in.
Wow.
And then you have a few Calcutta options, and then for the guys that want to compete at a higher level, want to spend a few more bucks, the 3-day tournament in the Florida Cup is only $800 to get in.
Yeah.
But there's daily Calcuttas in that because of the 3-day format, and if we hit the kind of numbers we hope to hit. The 3-day tournament, they'll probably be competing for hopefully close to $100,000.
Right.
Wow. But really cool in that, cool and different, unlike the Quest, where everything's structured. Palm Beach is the first leg, Broward and Fort Lauderdale and Pompano for the second leg. We've got a big announcement for Final Sail in Miami coming up. Can't share that just yet.
All right.
But
no worries.
It's coming out. And those are all structured events, right?
Yeah.
Florida Cup, you have, as the captain, as the team, the power is yours.
Whatever I want.
You decide. Our website's super cool. Once you register, you log in, you get your own account. You can go in and schedule your fishing days. The system will automatically confirm your day before you go fishing that next day or whenever you schedule it for. You get an email with your color card list that you have to film to validate your sailfish releases and stuff.
That's cool. So you guys combat cheating really well with this too.
Oh yeah,
It's like
yeah.
all
No,
thought out, dude.
no. It's just like a Quest tournament in terms of rule enforcement and video releases and everything, with the exception of we don't tell them when they go fishing. They decide.
That's pretty awesome. So that's cool. So will those guys, try to go for like certain species based on where they live and stuff like that, or?
Well, I mean, so in the case of the Florida Cup, it's all sailfish.
Okay.
So,
I'm thinking of
You're thinking of this.
I'm thinking of the
summer
other
series.
one. Yeah.
Now that still has a pretty good boundary, but it's that covers from like Fort Pierce all the way down to like Government Cut in Miami.
Yeah.
And we try to make that a little bit more kind of boater friendly to the teams if they're not, like, depending on where they're living. They can leave from wherever they want, and lines in at 8 o'clock. So, if you're coming up, for example, out of Boynton Inlet, you can leave your house, go fish wherever you're going to fish within the boundary, and then you come back down to Pompano in the afternoon to weigh in.
Okay. Yeah. So they can leave wherever they want. So they know basically the night before or whatever they're planning.
Right.
But weigh-ins in Pompano.
So with the summer series, we actually have 2 scale locations, again, for convenience. Our main scale is at the Cove in Deerfield, bring in a huge stage, lots of entertainment, super fun, great vibe, great crowd there. Everybody hanging out at the Cove Tiki Bar, watching the weigh-in.
Nice.
And then we have a north satellite scale at Sailfish Marina, because we have a decent amount of teams that fish up that way. So it gives them 2 options.
Right. That's awesome. So you get to keep everybody in mind. That's sweet.
Hey, I mean, we do everything that we can to try, within reason, to try and accommodate as many people as we can in the tournaments. Try to not only meet but exceed their expectations. It's not an easy job.
Right. No, I'm sure.
It's not an easy job.
That kind of leads me kind of into the next topic. It's not an easy job running a tournament, and now there's a bunch of tournaments everywhere, right?
Right.
So you've kind of solidified yourself at the top pretty much in terms of, these sailfish tournaments and all that. But do you see people, is it getting harder to get people to join the tournaments, new teams, because of all these different tournaments?
Oh, yeah. No, it's I would say that yes, in terms of the fishing tournament market, it's very saturated.
Yeah.
And look, there's plenty of great events, plenty of great causes. We're great partners with a number of tournaments, and I think most of them would all say the same thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether it's winter or summer, meat fish, sailfish, whatever the case may be. In the season of tournaments, I mean, most of the time you could decide, which tournament of 2 on a weekend you want to fish.
Yeah.
And so, if you rewind the clock back 2 decades, 25 years ago, when I was fishing tournaments, it was maybe the Tackle Depot tournament, it was the old Pompano Rodeo, the Miami Billfish, the Lauderdale Billfish.
You've won a bunch of those, right?
I have.
Yeah.
I won the Triple Crown years ago in the early 2000s,
awesome.
which was top angler for the Lauderdale Billfish, Miami Billfish, and the Pompano Rodeo.
Wow.
That's a super cool accomplishment that I was really proud of. Won the Miami Billfish fishing together with Tim Maddock one year on vitamin C2. Definitely a old school. One of the best in the game in the day. Still a great fisherman. His son Timmy Maddock Jr. is a slayer.
That's awesome.
So I won the Pompano Rodeo once. Got close to winning it. Actually, we had the fish to win it twice, but we had a blackfin tuna get mildly sharked.
That rule is crazy.
And that fish cost us. It cost us the rodeo that year.
Yeah.
But we still won the Triple Crown that year.
There you
so
go.
That was all good.
That's awesome.
It sucked losing the. So here's a good story for you.
Mm-hmm.
So that year when I was chasing the Triple Crown, I had a boat called Perfect Chemistry. I started actually out coming out of UF. I majored in zoology. I was on I was basically planning to go into education as a teacher. In fact, I did. My parents were both educators.
Okay.
And I had a great team of really talented guys that were good friends, and I was a chemistry teacher for my first year out of college. So the name of the boat, the Conch 27 Conch, was Perfect Chemistry.
I like that. That's awesome.
Yep. And so we had had a good run in the Lauderdale Billfish. We were competitive in the Miami Billfish. I was leading the standings for Master Angler, but with stuff going on, we weren't going to be able to field the full team for the Pompano Rodeo. So it was just me and one of my best friends, Mike McDaniel, at the time. I said, dude, I got to fish this. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I'm not just going to pass on the Triple
No, you
Crown,
can't.
right?
No.
So he and I went out, just two guys, on the 27 Conch, fished the rodeo, and led the tournament by ourselves.
Wow.
Fishing all the rods, the kites, and everything, and had the one fish that got DQ'd on the shark on the stage. Otherwise, we would have won that tournament as a two-man team.
Wow.
And the Triple Crown. But still a good story. Still won the
Yeah,
Triple
that's
Crown.
awesome.
So that was definitely a great moment in my fishing career, and a lot of meat fish tournament wins along the way.
Yeah. What's
But
your
yeah.
favorite meat fish to catch?
Man, that's tough. I love bottom fishing.
Yeah.
I love bottom fishing. Cobias are up there. I would probably say I'm going to go with anything that comes off the bottom.
Yeah.
Muttons and black and groupers and all that kind
Right.
of stuff. Love catching bottom fish.
They're delicious.
You just never know what you're going to catch when you're bottom fishing.
Right. You're not targeting a species per se.
Right.
You
Right.
can tap into anything.
Right.
I've seen you do a little bit of like slow pitch jigging, right? I've seen a couple videos.
Yeah, I
getting
would,
into
I would,
that?
I would consider myself a non-pro.
Yeah.
I only started to get into it, I don't know, maybe 2-3 years ago. Got introduced to it through Mike Lipsky at Real Deal Tackle. Great support of our tournaments, closing the shop. So I don't know if by the time this video hits, if the shop will still be open, but he's got some killer discounts that he's offering as they go through the closing process. But yeah, he got me outfitted. We went down and did a deep trip on the Yankee out on Pulley
I think
Ridge.
that's the one I saw, yeah.
And I was just like,
Killer, right?
I was done after that. I'm like, okay. I mean, as if I don't have enough hobbies that I spend too much time and money on. Now I
Right.
got slow pitch jigging, but yeah, no, I absolutely love it. We've done a few different trips and videos on the channel, on the Fish Blue Water YouTube channel. So anybody who wants to check those videos out, we got some killer.
Yeah, you have
slow
some
pitch
killer stuff on there.
Thank
man.
you, thank you. Yeah, the most recent trip I did with Captain Chris Seeger. He's captain of Family Matters. He runs a charter boat over out of Sarasota, and we went over to hang with him, and we went out and caught some slob American red snappers, and caught
For
some,
that little 2-day season that we have.
yeah, yeah. But it was fun, man. And we for a while, I took it's me and my son and. My buddy from our hunting camp that we were on a lease together with for many years, and his son, and they were doing the dead bait thing. Riley and I were doing the slow pitch. I was offering them the slow pitch rod, but I don't know if they were scared of it or whatever. And we were just putting it on them.
Putting a hurting, huh?
Yeah, on the slow pitch versus the dead bait. Devin, which was Reggie's son, he made a charge back at the end and caught two of the biggest reds of the trip, probably pushing like 15 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's some nice fish.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So, yeah, that was a good time.
Yeah. So, okay. So you love bottom fishing. You like it. That's your favorite meat fish, right? You know, do you foresee you guys doing a bottom fishing tournament? I feel like there's none of those out there. Right?
You know, it's
tough.
I wouldn't say bottom fishing in South
Deep
Florida
drop.
is that good.
Yeah.
What's his name? Mutton Man. He might argue differently. He seems to have
dude,
some
he
really
kills
good,
it,
He
man.
seems to have some really good spots. He's braver than I am, taking
Right.
all these people to all of his spots. But
What about venturing like to the Bahamas? I know there's some deep drop
well,
tournaments.
so with this, we added a slow pitch division to our summer tournaments.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yep. And there is a bottom fish category in that.
Okay.
And that, Jig Pro came on board this year as a new sponsor. So super appreciative to George. We got Johnny Jigs in Pompano, who I've gotten to know, and a super good dude. I'm hoping that I think he'll probably want to get involved next year, which we'd love to have him.
Yeah.
We had one of our small boat gang teams, shorthanded, I think it's a 23-foot Scout, or it's a 23-foot bay boat. I can't think of the brand name, but they caught a 10-pound mutton on the slow pitch jig.
Really?
And either the May or June tournament. So we actually had, I think, close to a 30-pound king weighed in on the slow pitch.
Really?
And,
That's cool.
Yeah, some tunas and stuff. So I tell a lot of the guys, not to get too off topic, but nowadays, with what I've learned about slow pitch jig fishing, and certainly how effective it can be, like for blackfin tuna. Yeah. If I was fishing my tournaments, I would have a guy dedicated at all times when we're basically targeting tunas. We'd be fishing a slow pitch jig.
Really?
1,000%.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you think it's that effective for them?
I know it is.
Yeah.
And I know that there's been teams in the tournaments that have added a tuna or two to their bag because of the slow pitch jig.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome to see, though.
Yeah, and these are good teams that, have a great spread of all the live baits and all the offerings.
Right.
But maybe they weighed one tuna that day and it came only on the slow pitch jig.
It's a different presentation. It's just, it's completely different than anything else. Different than vertical jigging than all of it.
Yeah.
That guy's arm's going to hurt at the end of the day, probably, right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, maybe you kind of shift off and on, but you'd be surprised. Have you slow pitch fish at all much yourself?
Not much.
Okay. Those rods will blow your mind.
Yeah.
Like what they're capable of and the kind of fish that you can, catch on them.
Yeah.
And just how light they are in terms of in your arm and the technique. I wouldn't want to be out dropping in 800 feet all day with one, right? Without an electric reel. But in that shallow water stuff, 200-300 feet,
killer.
It's cake. It's really not that big of a deal.
I've heard of some guys experimenting with having them auto jig up and down, which would be wild.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking to Johnny about it. He has a guy that's been figuring that out, which is kind of crazy. It's fishing by itself.
What is that like? Let's see how lazy we can really get as fishermen.
I guess, man. Exactly. It's I mean, hey, if it catches him fish, that's what he wants, man.
No doubt. I get it. Yeah, people have always hated on the, there's that
electrics, right?
Yeah, swordfish. I'm like, listen, dude, I am not that proud.
Yeah.
We're out there to try and pull a significant fish off the bottom.
Yeah.
And we're looking to put it in the boat and bring it home.
Yeah.
You can be mad at me all you want because I'm not hand cranking.
No, I'm not
hand
hand
cranking.
I'm
dropping my LP to the bottom.
Yeah.
And I'm getting tight on the electric.
Right, man. Absolutely, dude. If you have a 500-pound on there, if you have a nickel, you don't want to hand crank that. It's going to be hours.
Yeah. Speaking of which, my man off camera here, my marketing guy, Chris Caravello, caught his first daytime sword, I think 2 weeks ago.
No way. Did he have to take the eyeball? You have to eat the eyeball or whatever?
You see that stash?
You ate it?
You see that stash he's rocking?
Yeah.
I told him, I go, Chris, dude, it's the stash, bro.
Right.
Not only did he catch his first swordfish, a weekend later he catches his first tarpon with the stash.
Dude, it's the stash.
Yeah, and I go, I think you need to go, what do you call when the wraps down?
The handlebars?
I think he needs to go handlebar with just the little
biker
trim piece right there. Yeah.
Well, congrats, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So how big was the sword?
Well, they caught a swordfish.
All right. That's what it counts as.
It was just legal.
Okay.
But hey, first fish.
Hey, a fish is fish, man. It's meat.
Yeah. In fact, they soaking it up like a sponge. They went to I was talking about Timmy Maddock Jr. He and Tony, my buddy from Pelagic, they just had a seminar, a daytime seminar at Big Dog Tackle last week or whatever. And these guys went and they were fired up after their first catch, so they wanted to go and listen in, and they got some tips and recommendations on how they could do some things a little different with the buoy rod, because they were fishing it too deep instead of fishing it up off the bottom. He didn't go with them, but he was telling me on the ride down here that actually I saw the video of the fish jumping. They hooked a fish on the buoy rod with those changes.
Really?
Right?
That's
And,
so awesome when you see it come together.
almost they pulled it off right at the boat, but
Dang.
yeah.
Well, hey, it came together. The plan,
Mm-hmm.
that's what it's about. It's about learning and getting better every day out there. I feel like that's what drives me at least to fishing, man. It's like,
Well, and I think it's being patient, right?
Yeah.
Like I started out in a 19-foot Mako that I was blessed enough, my parents knew I was passionate about fishing. They didn't have a lot of money. But thanks to, our next door neighbors, Faye and Dick Don, who were like second parents to me, we called him Uncle Dickie. He basically told my dad when I was young, he's like, listen, Jamie needs a boat.
yeah.
And he's like, well, my dad's like, I can't really, we can't afford it. He's like, I'll go in partners with you on it. So
Okay.
they went in partners on that 19-foot Mako.
Dude, that's awesome.
And you know what? There was, even like if you look at it today, where you see some of the, when I was younger, like, dude, a 25 Mako with a single 235, right, was
Yeah.
like the 39 CV with quads of
Really?
today, right?
Wow.
Or the 44 Contender or whatever.
So you
right?
were rocking in style, man.
So yeah, no. So like if you made it to like a 25 Mako or a 31 Hydrosport, dude, that was like unheard of.
Really?
And my point I'm making with that is, but we still put our team together. We put
Yeah.
our time in. We worked hard. We chopped wood, hauled water, as the saying goes, and
Yep.
we were relatively competitive. And I think that's a message for a good message for a lot of the teams looking from the outside looking in is, tournaments are fun.
Yeah.
They're embrace them for what they are, which is community events for people to get together that have a shared passion and have a good time. And yes, you want to continue to improve and get better,
Yeah.
but don't put so much stock in did I win or did I lose? Because if that's all you ever focus on, you're never going to really be that happy in tournaments.
Yeah, you're not gonna have
Even
fun.
The best of the best that are doing this, like nobody's making money at this.
No.
If you broke even, you are killing it,
Yeah.
right? So, like, for the guys that are on the outside looking in, like, be patient, set realistic expectations, and it can truly be fun.
Yeah.
But you have to be willing to put in some time and some effort, and like everything else in life, you get out what you put in.
Right. So if you're pre-fishing for 4 days,
right.
you might get the fish.
Right. And don't be mad at the guys if they're working hard and they're succeeding.
Yeah.
Every other sport operates that way.
Right.
But it's the same reason, like in the summer tournaments, where we're trying to offer so many other things for them. From we feed them at all the events, we give them open bar.
Right.
We have countless different categories. Like in the summer tournaments, for your $500 entry fee, there's close to 50 ways you can win money.
Yeah.
That's
Pretty sweet.
Combination of dolphin, first, second, third of each heaviest species, small boat, family, non-pro, juniors, peewees. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
And I think so long as you keep your expectations realistic, and even if you don't have that team that can compete at the highest level, right? There's still a great time to be had. There's a lot of fun to be had, and there's a lot of opportunities to learn by being present. Most people would be surprised, these fishermen, the great fishermen that I know, I have rarely met a really good fisherman, that's not willing to share their knowledge.
Yeah.
Talk to Art Sapp, talk to Skip Dana, talk to Ray Rocher, the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
John Dudas, these guys get it. They understand what it takes for a sport to grow, and they freely share that information.
Yeah.
With people that want to learn and get better, because we were all there at one time in our lives.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So-
One of the guys I look up to is Ray Rocher, and I talk to him on occasion, and he's always super open about everything that he
Right.
says, man. It's awesome.
Right.
It's great.
Absolutely. So, there's little tricks and, little things that guys have. Ray may do something one way, Art may do it another.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's not rocket science. I mean,
No.
it's just, it's being in the right place at the right time, capitalizing on opportunities. And what you hear from a lot of these guys is true. It's preparation.
Yeah.
90%, 99% of the time, the tournament is won before the bait is ever put in the water.
Really?
Oh, 1,000%.
You think so?
Yeah, because you have to be ready for the opportunities that are presented to you.
Right.
And when you are ready, when those opportunities are presented to you, that's when success becomes realized.
Right.
It's the guys that aren't ready. They get those opportunities. They miss 2 or 3 or 4 fish.
That's it.
Or whatever the case may be. Or they didn't bring enough bait, or they didn't take good enough care of their bait, and they didn't get enough opportunities.
Yeah.
You know, it's all goes back to preparation.
Right.
Preparation.
I mean, that makes sense.
And you don't have to have a fast, fancy boat to be prepared.
No.
You just have to put the effort in.
Right. Do your homework, know exactly what your game plan is, and
Listen,
doesn't take much.
Give me a 25-foot center console.
Yeah.
1 motor, prefer 2, and give me my pick of a handful of guys that we can prepare. And I'm going to tell you right now, I will go out that inlet with the confidence that we'll compete with anybody.
Really?
No question about
It's
it.
not about the boat. It's about who's
It's
on there
about
and who-
it's about the preparation. You know,
Right.
don't get me wrong. There's to a degree, yes.
Yeah.
The boat is, I would like the boat and the parts and pieces that go along with it are like, they're tools that you put in your tool belt
Right.
that enable you to help you to succeed.
The boat is
right?
not the team. The team is the team.
Right. But
Yeah.
I'm not going to go out, and I don't have the money, but if I had the money, I'm not going to go out and buy a 60-foot Spencer, spend $50,000 on rods and reels,
Yeah.
and hire a captain and grab my friends and go out and win tournaments.
No. Not going to happen.
Doesn't work that way.
Right.
It's the work that's done before you get on
Yeah.
that Spencer, or before you get on that CV, or before you get on that contender,
Right.
that determines ultimately how confident you feel about success going into the tournaments.
Right. In front of me, I have the Flushmaster by Seamule. This little device simplifies the process for flushing your engines. All it takes is 3 easy steps. Plug the hose into the device, plug the hoses from the device into your motors, and press on. That's all it takes to preserve the longevity of your motors, ensuring 100% clean water is running through them. So if you want to preserve your motors, go to seamule.com and go pick up a Flushmaster. So getting back to it on your little 19-foot Mako, in today's terms, little, right? You guys prepared and you guys got in there. What was one of your most memorable moments on that boat?
Oh man, there's lots of memorable ones.
Yeah. What's your favorite? Or what's
trying to keep it from sinking in most tournaments when it was rough, make sure the bilge would stay running. I'm trying to think of what would probably be one of my highlights. Probably wouldn't have even been. I loved fishing tournaments in it. I absolutely, every year I would wait for the Pompano Rodeo and my group like it was Christmas.
Yeah.
And to get out there and mix it up with the guys. We weighed some good fish. But I would say my most memorable moment was just a summertime trip with a couple of my buddies, and ended up hooking a fish on the deep rod. Caught it for like 45 minutes and ended up being like a 65-pound wahoo.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That was a great quality fish that actually my parents ended up surprising me with a mount from Great
That's
Taxidermy as a Christmas present.
Okay. That's sweet.
Later that year afterwards. So that was definitely a memorable moment.
And that was just right out here out in Pompano? Or where?
Yeah.
Whereabouts?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
right
was
there.
literally Blue Roof.
Yeah.
You know where that is? Jim Moran's house.
Yeah.
Just north of the inlet.
Yep.
It was right off of the Blue Roof and a couple 100 feet of water.
That's cool, man. They get a good run of wahoo there for
We
some
take that
reason.
thing out sword fishing, jug fuel out with us. And,
Really?
Yeah.
You hook any swords on that thing?
No, that was we hooked and caught plenty on the conch.
Yeah.
Some phenomenal trips on that. But it was the learning on the Mako.
Yeah.
Going back to preparation, it was the learning on the Mako that contributed to the success.
Right.
that we saw like nighttime sword fishing on the conch.
Yeah.
Daytime sword fishing wasn't even a thing back then.
Yeah. That's kind of something you've seen grow over time, right? Like
Yeah,
change.
I mean, I've been nighttime sword fishing maybe once within the last 5 years.
Yeah.
But it was always a lot of fun because of what you get to experience and see at night. It's beautiful out there.
Right.
The stuff that would swim up in the lights. And we used to, believe it or not, back when the commercial fishery was here, and you could actually longline in South Florida, we used to catch some of the best fish at night while that was going on. And I don't know if that was partly because, maybe some of the smaller fish were getting picked through, with the longliners. But I had one night where we hooked a doubleheader of 250s on the conch.
Whoa.
Caught one, lost one right at the boat. Told my buddy, I said, "You want to give it one more shot?" He said, "Sure." We ran down to like the 57, 58 line.
Yeah.
Put the baits back in. All of a sudden, you hear the clip on the tip rod on the transom. Like 3 hours and 15 minutes later, we put the harpoon in like a 350.
Whoa.
Yeah,
That's a lot of meat, man.
That was a pretty
New moon or full moon?
epic night. So long ago,
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you. But where I was going with that is, Bobby Boyle obviously was played a huge role in the daytime fishery out here and kind of discovering it and mastering it. And guys have moved away from the nighttime because typically, you're seeing better quality fish caught on the daytime stuff.
Yeah.
But the nighttime is a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Ton of fun.
You get a little delirious out there and then having fun with the
Man,
boys.
we used to, yeah. I was much younger when I was doing that. And
Yeah.
we'd spend all night. We'd be out there at sundown. We'd fish till 3, 4, 5 in the morning, come home. Somehow I'd get myself together to be productive for the day. And then we'd go right back out again the next night.
Were you teaching students at the time? Or we're not going to talk about that.
Well, the teaching tenure only lasted a half a year because right about the time that I was starting to get rolling, I got started in the classroom, was when the tournament's summer series started to take off.
Okay.
And I knew that I had to make a decision. Like, I couldn't accomplish what I needed to or wanted to with the tournaments being in the classroom. And I also, I owed it to the kids, to be present if I was going to obviously, be leading the class. So, so I made the decision. You should have seen that conversation in the hallway of my parents' house when I told them I was going to take a shot at running fishing tournaments after they had put me through University of Florida and a master's at Nova Southeastern. They're like,
what?
They were like supportively looking at me like, I'm not sure how that's going to work.
Well, hey, it's worked out for sure now, man.
Hey, listen, they're still involved in my tournaments to this day at
awesome.
79 and 78 years old.
Wow.
It's definitely a family affair.
Dude, that's a blessing, man.
It
That's
is
awesome.
My wife's she's a full-time school-based psychologist, but she's at all the tournaments. The godparents to my kids, who walked into Tackle Depot the first year of the tournament to fish it, or Lynn is a part-time admin assistant for me now. Okay. Her and Ronnie are godparents to my kids. So yeah, we have people that are still involved in our tournaments today. Yeah. That were at the first tournament 28 years ago.
That's incredible, man. Yeah. That is awesome.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey.
Yeah. That's inspiring, man. I mean, and look where you've gotten now, your tournaments are the tournaments to be in. People want the rings. People want the jackets, and now you're working with the Dolphins. It's incredible, man.
No, I'm honored that Paul Castronovo is a good buddy of mine, also a fellow Gator. Go Gators. No disrespect if you're a Hurricanes fan or a Seminole fan.
That's all good, man.
I got to give love to my alma mater. And then Jeff Peck, who's really good friends with Jeff Peck, who's really good friends with Paul, and I know him from fishing the Miami Dolphins. We actually won that tournament twice. Okay. Got to fly on the team plane with the Dolphins.
That's
talk
cool.
about a super cool experience.
Yeah.
So it took a hiatus, and they shelved it during COVID. It's back now. They're off, last year, huge guaranteed prize structure, over $100,000. You had like Captain Dean Panos Double D. Fishing was even slow. They caught a tuna and a king, and the Dolphins wrote him a check for, I think, like $55,000.
Whoa.
2 fish.
That's, dude, what? 2 fish?
Young Guns caught one 18-pound wahoo in the tournament and got a check for $20,000.
That's awesome, man.
Most unbelievable party I've ever witnessed in a fishing tournament happened that night. Have you? So you're down this way, right? You're in the. Have you been to Regatta Grove yet?
Yeah, I've been down there.
That's where the awards party was that Saturday night, and they had a fireworks show.
Dude,
the whole
that's
deal.
Cool.
So that'll be back. That's going to be back the first weekend of June.
Okay.
Mark your calendars for that. I'm telling you,
we'll be there.
If you're a Dolphins fan, dude.
Even better.
The stock is rising, huh?
Yeah.
The stock is rising.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be an epic tournament. They had the full LED screen on the stage with the players, and then the winners were coming up and they were blasting them with the smoke.
Oh, that's
you
cool.
felt like you were at the guys who were winning the tournaments, like, yeah, they felt like they were they were accepting like rings for the Super Bowl or something, you know? It was super, super cool. So yeah, no, I mean, I appreciate hearing you say, like, the way that you feel like we are kind of respected and viewed in terms of the caliber of our events. But honestly, like, and I mean this when I say it, it's not just like, sales pitch talk. Like, I'm the same guy today that I was, when I started these tournaments years ago in terms of what I want for the events. And that's
right.
That is, my heart is always with the fishermen. My biggest, I would say the toughest part for me when I really stepped out and took on some opportunities with the Quest and some other things, I knew it was going to take me away from the competitive side of fishing, which was my passion. But I also felt like we could do something that I would be proud of for our fishing community for the guys who do it and for the ladies who do it. And, when the time comes, that it's time for me to hang up my tournament hat.
Hopefully
I don't want to use the word legacy, but like if there's ever a legacy, I think, that's what I want to be remembered for, like is a guy who is an organization who was here for the fishermen and, wanted the best out of everything with the events for the fishermen. I'm sure we get a lot of jabs thrown at us on the sidelines because of success, and that comes with the territory. But,
well, man, I've talked to a lot of guys, and your tournaments are what they want to be in, and they don't even care about the money. Like, I've talked to guys, and they're like, dude, we just want those rings, man. We want that jacket. We don't, dude. Like you said, we're barely breaking even this season. It doesn't matter. Yeah. It's about the prestige, and when you get a tournament that is able to accomplish that rather than people focusing on the money. Yeah. That's incredible.
Well, that's the thing.
I think you did leave a legacy, or you will leave a legacy.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what you said is, very accurate in that, like, I know, like, what it meant for me going through the competitive experience and guys that I fished with and against, Art, Skip, all those guys I've already mentioned, like, when you win something, you really want it to mean something. Yeah. Like, you want to feel like there's no handout, there's no participation trophy. Like, when you step up on that stage to claim that trophy, collect that check, put on those rings, put on that jacket, like, especially in the case of the highest levels of achievement with the jacket and the rings, there's no other feeling like that.
No.
Words can't describe what it's like. I mean, so it's got to be about the process. Right. It's got to be about the experience that you go through with your friends, everybody you're competing with, the memories that you make and the relationships that you forge along the way. It has to be about all that all the time. Right. Because I've seen it too many times when the focus becomes on the money, or you get the infighting with teams because they didn't discuss money up front. Yeah. Tough. Sometimes a lot of teams you have, one person that's footing the bill for everything. It's rare. Like when I came up, when we fished, my guys put in.
Yeah.
Everybody put in.
There's no money man.
There was
now.
and if you got out what you put in,
Yeah.
we couldn't do it any other way, right? But when you see some of this, but everybody knew where they stood on my team, up front.
Okay.
And I feel like that's when you don't have those conversations, you know, and people are starting to talk about the money, or they didn't feel their check was as what they expected it to be.
Yeah.
Those are the teams that don't last.
Yeah.
You know, because
You've probably seen it.
It wasn't about everything else.
Yeah.
And the focus was more on the money.
Right. And you've probably seen it happen over and over in some of your tournaments where they're good teams, but things happen and just crumbles.
Yeah. You know, that's that might be the ugly side, and that goes with any kind of competition.
Yeah.
You know, money can bring out the best in competition, and it can also bring out the worst in people.
You see them in super high levels,
right,
like professional sports, like in NFL and stuff like that. And
you know, and try being the guy who's, you know, try being the person also, and that's where I like going back to, you know, you're talking about running tournaments and the challenge. Yeah, saturation is one of them.
Yeah.
But there's certainly, you know, many others. You know, I think we're in a tough time right now between, you know, fuel's expensive. I think, you know, you've got some people that are, you know, have some levels of confidence with the economy and stuff, you know, so we're dealing with certain people that may have more discretionary money to play money than others. And so the valuations and the factors are different, but like, you know, try being the person who, on top of all that, like, you know, you have paying customers, and like in the case of sailfish tournaments, like where you have to review their video and determine, does it meet the criteria like required for validating a release.
Right.
And we have sponsors that fish our tournaments. I've actually had to DQ sponsor releases.
That's nuts.
And I'm not talking small sponsors at times, you know, but I think that's like, as a tournament director, there's always times where you meet this crossroad where you can maybe do what's comfortable, or you can decide to do what's right.
Yeah.
And, you know, my events have always been built on my reputation and integrity.
Yeah.
And whether, like, my point of view has always been, whether you're somebody that I grew up fishing with, you're my largest sponsor in a tournament, or you're fishing my tournament for the first time and I've never met you, the rules are the same for everybody.
Yep.
And as long as we stay consistent in how we enforce those rules and the interpretation, and we clearly communicate to our teams as to, if we do have a situation like I just described, why it occurred, it's not easy.
I'm sure.
But in the long run, the fishermen respect it, because there's one thing that I believe confidently, if you were to poll all fishermen that fish our tournaments, do they ever have any concern about sportsmanship and fair play in our tournaments? No. Yeah. Because
that's great.
At the end of the day,
you
know, we have a great team of people that we watch all the footage. Yeah. It's not like we just take their card in and we do a song and a dance and like pretend like we watch the footage.
No, you review it.
We review it.
Yeah.
You know, ask JC. We review it. And I'm not saying that in a bad way.
No. Yeah.
You know,
you have to.
There's guys that I have to call at certain times and be like, we don't have it. We don't have it on this card. Yeah. Do you have another card? You know, or do you have another camera? And stuff like that. So, they definitely know that it's not, they can count on getting a fair shake. Yeah. When they sign up and fish our events.
That's great, man. That's good. I mean, integrity is what, you know, is the bedrock of what a tournament is, essentially. Yeah. Yeah, man. So I have a question for you as a tournament director, and I know we're going a little overtime than what I promised you before, but
partly because of me.
Man.
I'll talk.
It's awesome. I'm loving it. As a tournament director, that big marlin, I believe it was the big rock, right? Mm-hmm. The one that got sharked, that got DQ'd. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, you know, honestly, like, I don't know all of the details.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really never dove into the rules of what the tournament is. I can tell you, in the case of my tournaments and our rules and how it would apply, that mutilated fish don't count.
Right.
That wouldn't count in my tournament. Did they DQ it or did it count?
No, it didn't count.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the reason that we don't allow a mutilated fish to count is because at the end of the day, a fight is intended to be a battle between the angler on the rod and the fish. And the fish has to have the opportunity to defend itself and to win that fight, just the same way that the angler is doing it on the rod and reel. Yeah. At the point in time a fish loses its ability to swim and or defend itself, there's no longer a fight taking place.
It's like handing off the rod.
Now you're reeling in a dead fish. Yeah. So the opportunity of losing that fish is over. Yeah. You know, and that is why we do not allow mutilated fish to count.
It makes sense.
Now I can tell you, I will look and examine a fish closely, if called upon to do it, to determine, like, if there was just a glancing, like, couple of teeth marks out of a fish, or something like that, that would not like
affect its ability
to survive and fight. Yeah. That could be a fish that we would still count. Right. But, you know, I remember seeing that fish, and I mean, it looked like it was heavily mutilated. Yeah.
Tough call.
Total bummer for those guys. Yeah. I think where, again, going back to what we were talking about, where you can get yourself into trouble is being inconsistent. Right. I don't know anything about the history of that tournament and past things that went on. I remember seeing and reading about, like, other outcomes and they were treated differently. I don't know if that's true or false. Yeah. You know,
I'm not sure either.
But yeah, I think so long as any tournament is consistent with how they enforce a specific rule, no team should have any, you know, teams should be satisfied. Right. They may not like the rule.
But it is
they may prefer that it's different, but they know what the rule is going into it, and they know how it's going to be enforced.
Yeah. Well, look, guys, this is what you can expect from Jamie and his team. Consistency, excellence, and the top-of-the-line tournaments in Florida and probably in the country. They're some of the best, guys. Jamie, thank you so much for coming in today, man. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. I think you guys have a great podcast that you've gotten started here.
Thank you.
Obviously, the IG channel has got a great following. So
appreciate that.
Any opportunity to talk shop about fishing and fishing tournaments and anything that contributes to the growth of our sport, I'm all in.
Absolutely, man. We'll be there. Hopefully, we can fish a tournament. Yeah. Science of Fishing team.
Florida Cup. Florida Cup early registration is open until December 1st. Okay. Quest for the Crest registration will be opening November 15th, and then obviously the summer stuff starts to hit in February, March. So you can find us at bluewatermovements.com, at Fish Blue Water. We got a killer Fish Blue Water YouTube channel. In fact, I'm going fishing tomorrow with Mr. Mike Holliday from Captains for Clean Water.
There you go. We had him on the show.
See if I can't put myself
Captain
a little
Chris.
slot snook in the boat. Come on, Mike. Come on, Mike. Let's do this.
There you go, man. Well, you guys got to check them out. They have awesome stuff going on. Check out their videos. I watch them. Go to fish the tournaments, guys, and see you next time.
Thanks for joining us on CCO's The Science of Fishing. We hope that this episode was helpful and you learned something for the next time you're wetting a line. Before we cast off, a special thanks to our sponsors, Sea Mule and Black Reef Co. Stay hooked by following us on social media at Science of Fishing and hitting the subscribe button. And if you know someone who'd enjoy this, don't hesitate to share. Until we meet again, catch 'em up.